I am indeed, and this of course is the latest in a long line of measures that the government's brought in to try and get net migration figures down. David Cameron promised a long time ago to get them down to the tens of thousands. They've been really going in the wrong direction. So will these measures do anything to help him get to that target? I'm joined by UKIP's MP Douglas Carswell. Do you think that this is the right move to make, to try and get down immigration? Of course, he can't do much about EU migration. This is about non-EU.
It's very sensible, and it's UKIP policy to make sure that the number of work visas that we issue match the skills that we need. And it's right that the advisory service is being asked to make sure that we're giving visas to people with the skills that we need. But, you know, it would be economically illiterate if we ran an immigration policy that, on the one hand, restricted the ability of people with the skills we need to come from around the world, but at the same time left in place the right of 400 million people from the EU to come here. That would mean that we would end up with people without the skills that we need rather than the people with the skills that we do need. That would be bad for the economy, and it wouldn't actually solve any of our problems as a country.
But given that we are where we are at the moment and leaving the EU is not a possibility just yet, are these measures likely to make any difference? Do you think it's right to maybe put a time limit on how long an occupation can deem to be having a shortage?
Absolutely. If we adopted the Australian approach, which is UKIP policy, then it would be possible every year for Parliament, for government to say, these are the number of work visas we're going to issue, these are the skills that we need, and you could review it on an annual basis. A couple of things that he also alluded to that slightly concern me. I'm worried about the idea of some sort of new levy. If you impose some sort of new levy to supposedly try to correct the problem of wage compression, you're going to create, in effect, a corporatist labour market. That means big government and big business coming together, and if you look around the world, societies that are run that way aren't very successful. We need a free labour market with a sensible Australian-type immigration system, and I'm afraid this doesn't do it.
And would that include unskilled workers as well under that system, or would you then just be choosing the brightest and the best, if you like, graduates and that kind of thing? Or if there was a shortage in the labour market, would you let others in too?
Wouldn't it be a wonderful debate to have in the House of Commons every year, where the House of Commons voted to approve the number of work visas? And yep, you could have a debate saying, let's exempt people with degrees in medicine, let's exempt people with particular skills. I think we need to be a little bit careful about being too prescriptive as to what skills the economy needs. Because if is a fruit picker not a valuable role if you run a farm? Of course they are. We need to be a little careful. That's why we need the Australian system, because that allows you to decide the skills you need on an annual basis. Unfortunately, what the Prime Minister is suggesting does nothing to prevent the 400 million people in the EU to settle here. And until we address that, the rest is just window dressing.
And are you worried that because of that, because he can't at the moment do anything about EU migration, that actually we could end up preventing some of the people we do really need from coming here?
What I'm alarmed about is that actually this government is going to give migration control a bad name. If we start to restrict the right of GPs, like the GPs in my constituency who've come here from India, to come here and make a difference and work for our NHS, if we're going to restrict their ability to do that, but at the same time allow people potentially with not just no skills but maybe criminal records from other EU countries an automatic right to come here, we're going to give the idea of migration control a bad name. You know, we need to be commonsensical about this. That's why the Australian system is so important. We need to be able to decide for ourselves how many work visas we give out, and until we address the European angle, all the rest is just blah blah.
Thank you very much indeed. And the government has asked the Migration Committee to look into this. They think some of their work could be done pretty quickly within the next month or so, the rest of it by the end of the year, and they say they want them to look at the impact that these changes might have on business.